back to English class, children. Today we are going to revise Reader Chapter 6, The Game. Children, we all know games and sports make us fit, active, healthy and social. They teach us a lesson of brotherhood and national unity. Children, remember, a healthy mind dwells in a healthy body. So, let us read out the summary of this chapter to find out what kind of game main character of the story, Fundan, plays. So, let's read. The Game is a short story by well-known Indian novelist Munshi Premchand, whose real name is Dhanpat Rai Srivastava. The story is about Fundan, a boy of 5 or 6 years old he might be, and how he turns an unhappy situation into a happy one. Usually in the village at noon, the farmers are in the field and the children are asleep at home. But Fundan had other plans. He sneaked out past the designated guardian, the 80-year-old grandma, in search of Jatin the hawker. The wares of Jatin the hawker sells were legendary amongst the kids of the village. They are sweets and savours of all kinds. Jatin came from a poor family. Those who can afford get a taste of Jatin's wares. But Fundan is not among them. For him, the joy is in seeing the varieties of sweets. On this day that he slipped out, he wanted to go in search of Jatin and lead him into the village. Fundan gets as far as the Kacha road and does not find Jatin. His disappointment is boundless. But then he suddenly sees a broken basket and has an idea. Immediately his disappointment disappears. Fundan picks up the basket, puts some stones in it, covers it with his shirt and immediately becomes Jatin. A game that is far more enjoyable than just peering into Jatin's basket. He enters the village like Jatin does, and his playmates join him in playing, knowing without being told the game that is afoot. He starts selling his stone sweets and his friends start buying from him. So this was the summary of the chapter, children. Now let us take the reading of the chapter.
The Game. Munshi Premchand, translated from Hindi by Payal Agarwal. It was almost noon. The farmers were in the fields. The cranes were descending on the fields of ripening sugar cane. The sun was bright and the air warm. Children were still inside their homes for fear of the hot breeze. Suddenly, the door of a hut flung open, and a boy of barely 5 or 6 peered out. Sitting in the shadow of the neem tree in front of the hut, an old lady was weaving a basket. Seeing the boy, she called out, "Where are you off to, Fundan? Go inside and sleep. It's very hot outside. All the other boys are still sleeping. Mother has already left to plow the field. I'm scared alone in the house." The old lady was the designated grandmother of the village children. The children did not like her watching them. They tried to find ways to slip past her. But with the experience of her 80 long years, the old woman could see through all their tricks and schemes. "I'm here. What are you scared of? Go and sleep, or I will come over. It's time to get out anyway." Where will you go at this time of the day? No way, Grandma. The boy took a few steps forward. Grandma put away her basket and the long needle. But before she could get up, he ran out of her reach. Don't go anywhere this time, my child. I am going to look for Jatin. Jatin was hawker. He came every evening. The villagers paid him with grains for his fare. His basket was laden with sweet and salty save, til or ramdhana laddu, some batasha, kutti and other local goodies. To the children it seemed like manna from heaven, and they could hunger for one glimpse of the basket. Only a few were privileged to partake of the delicacies. Still, a glimpse was enough to fill them with pleasure. Fundan was one such poor boy. No amount of crying, begging, entreating, or flattering could grant his wish. But the failure never dampened his spirits. Today, Fundan did not take his afternoon nap. Jatin had promised to get raw ghari and imarti. Reaching the garden, Fundan thought, "It's not evening yet. Jatin is usually here by now. Chunnu, Sohan, and Kalu are still asleep. Jatin must have reached the main road. He is sure to get the imarti red and shiny. Once, long ago, yes, at the Dashera Mela, I had tried imarti. How sweet it was! His mouth salivated at the memory. For a while, Fundan waited for Jatin at the edge of the village. He was excited. He wanted to be the first to greet Jatin today. I will lead him to the village. Everyone will be so surprised. At that moment, Genda, the village dog, joined him. He wagged his tail as if to ask what he was doing there. Fundan patted him on the head, but Genda was too busy to stop and chat. The dog raised her head and Fundan ran after him. There was still no sign of Jatin. Slowly the shadows lengthened. Disheartened, he squatted on the road. Tears fell unfettered at the dashed hopes. How cruel Jatin was. He comes to meet us every day, but the day I come to meet him, he doesn't show up. I won't let him enter the village tomorrow. Suddenly his eyes fell on a broken cane basket on the ground. This was enough to rouse the child from the gloom of dejection. He lined the basket with some leaves. He picked up some gravel and stones and placed them in the basket. Then he took off his shirt and covered it all. He placed the basket on his head and started walking towards the village. Now, no longer was he the boy who was looking for Jatin, he was Jatin. He danced his way towards the village, his head held high in pride. His innocent face reflected the truth of his belief with such intensity that nobody dared laugh at him. The boys heard his call and ran towards him. Just like Jatin, Fundan was surrounded by eager faces. Somebody asked, "What kind of a game is this?" But one heart understood another. Sweets started selling. Pebbles became money and stones, and rocks became sweets. This game was much more fun. Munnu handed him a pebble, saying, Jatin, I will give you an anna for the sweets. Jatin placed a few stones on a leaf and gave it to him. Sweets never tasted as good or as delicious.